I think there's also one thing to be said is like every time we talk about this, and talk about how growing the Pro Tour and we relate it directly to growing the sport, there's kind of there's two different kind of aspects of it where people are like, well, that doesn't really grow the sport. And there's also the people that are like, screw growing the sport. The sport needs to stop growing because my local course is getting packed.
Yeah.
So when I think of it like this, right? I think that the more the top level grows, the more marketable it becomes, and the more marketable it becomes, the more the bottom level grows. The bottom level also grows. That should not overlook all of the work going into courses, all the local course designers, all of that. But when you have something to show that's like, look, like Nike's investing in the Pro Tour, like you're going to want a pro level course at your Kalamazoo Park, whatever it is. That's a much easier pitch to make than, hey, Ricky just won $3,000 at the biggest tournament.
Yeah.
Like we want to have one of those tournaments here. Okay, well, I'd rather put in a BMX park. You know what I mean? Right. These are the conversations that probably not that exact conversation, but as the sport grows, it's easier and easier for disc golf to get their way with local parks and recreation places and stuff like that. And how I look at it is like this. If we look at whenever grow the sport is implemented, it looks like a plant, right? Like they always use plants. Mm-hmm. I think that's a perfect analogy because if you look at a plant, right, and you have a plant in your backyard, growing the sport is like watering the plant. If you do that, it's going to continue to thrive. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to get bigger and better. The second you stop watering that plant, at first it might be like, perfect. The sport's the perfect size. My course isn't too busy, whatever. You know, when you look at it long term, that plant's going to die. Mm-hmm. So if we stop paying attention to growing the sport, we stop focusing on things that are going to get us to these next levels, we're going to just basically not only squash out the growth, but also squash out the insurgence of new players, which then means that as players continue to play and slowly get out of the sport and stuff like that, there's going to be coming a time where more players are getting out of the sport than are getting into the sport, and it's going to get harder and harder to keep courses in the ground. It's going to get harder and harder to get new courses in the ground, and our sport is literally going to die.
Yeah.
So to me, there's two options. We grow the sport, and we look for ways to continue to grow the Pro Tour and grow the low levels of the sport, or we kill the sport. And I don't see any way in between.
No, I mean, if you're talking about stopping the growth of the sport because your course is getting too crowded, like, it's just selfish.
Yeah.
Like, when the sport grows, more courses go in. Yeah. You know, like, it's just ridiculous. If you're really passionate about disc golf, then you should be passionate about more people learning about disc golf and playing disc golf, and like that's just the bottom line. Like you can't really defend the other side of that opinion. And like, hey, if you're just being like, yeah, no, I am being selfish, then like, then you valid. Do you, but but like, that's just how it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that our area is a great example of this. Of like, the local community is super investing into disc golf,
and courses are just popping up, everywhere.
And good courses are popping up.
Yeah.
You know, when we go and I talk to Parks and Rec department, you know, if you go back a few years, people were saying how hard some of these Parks and Rec departments were to work with. Mm-hmm. You know, there was so much red tape to jump through. It was really hard to get events here and there.
And now they love disc golf.
The Parks and Rec departments are asking us, how can we set up events? How can we make it easy for you to run events? Because they see this is one of the best investment we can make to get people to our parks.
Right.
When tournaments are filling left and right, and they're like, yeah, we could have a basketball event and have 40 people, or we could have a disc golf event that's spread out, doesn't have to shut down the park, and there's 72 people using it. What's going to look better?
Right.
You know what I mean? And the more the sport grows, I think the better our reputation looks to these Parks and Rec departments, and the easier it is to sell that. I will never have not and will not understand the other side of that argument.
Yeah. I mean, right now, within an hour, we can drive to how many courses?
8 or 9.
8 or 9.
Maybe even more.
Right. Like, and it's just growing.
That includes like 3 championship level courses, soon to be 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just our area. You know, other areas are exploding the exact same way.
We were just in Texas. It's even crazier.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a great thing happening.
Yeah.
And
plenty of room for disc golf courses.
Yeah. And so I think that, you know, the whole slow the growth or stop the growth of the sport is
ridiculous.
I don't understand it. I never will. I think we just have to continue to move forward and look for ways to grow the Pro Tour and also grow the sport.
We got to make some grow the sport merch.
Everyone does that, right?
No, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make the best one.
We should make some slow the sport merch. Satire.
Just satire. Just completely own the joke.
Yeah.